All right, I think we're back. Let's see. Let's see. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me? Are you with me? It looks like we're back. All right. It looks like we're back. I think you guys are here. If you guys have joined back, just give me a like, comment, make sure that you're hearing me still. Let me double check. Microphone, everything reconnected right again. Cool. All right, I see JD, Cody, Emmanuel, you guys are back. Looks like we're good. Exactly, David. Second time is the charm. So here's what we're going to run through today, you guys. I got the little agenda over here. So we're going to talk about the recruiting funnel, and we're going to talk about, this thing's a mirror. We're going to talk about the recruiting funnel, talk about the cost of recruiting, also talk about cost of a bad hire, cost of delay, opportunity cost, and then just kind of understanding how it all ties together and how to take it and run from here. So let's walk through the recruiting funnel. The recruiting funnel itself is pretty simple. Most people are going to overcomplicate it, and they make the mistake. The most common mistake we're going to see for people recruiting is that they don't spend enough time at the top of the funnel. So it's just like marketing, right? Like most business owners don't have predictable lead generation. So then they wonder why they can't find clients or dream clients, right? Well, it's the same thing here. Most people don't spend time in talent acquisition, and then they wonder why they aren't able to find good sales reps. So what we tend to see is you need to have 200 candidates here. And then from the 200 candidates, you're going to end up with about 80 phone screens. And then from there, you hit 25 interviews to narrow down to the 4 that you onboard and trial, right? So this is a lot of fucking work. That's the thing people don't understand, is how much fucking work it really is, right? You get 200 candidates, 80 phone screens, 25 interviews, and 4 that you got to onboard. So I'm going to break down the math here so you understand time investment. Usually what we see is the interviews about an hour, right? So you're looking at 25 hours here in terms of the interview. Usually the phone screens are about 10-minute conversations. So if you're having 80 10-minute conversations, you're looking at somewhere around 10 hours or so, a little bit more, but we'll give it 10 hours kind of as a discount. Here at the onboarding, you're talking about 5 to 10 hours at least. And then in the sourcing phase as well, we're talking about another about 15 hours because you got to spend a lot of time putting out job posts, just kind of getting stirring the pot to get people coming to you. So usually what we're going to see is, all in all, I'm going to go with the 5 number down here, but all in all, we're looking at about a total of 55 hours spent on finding good sales reps. And then so this is where business owners don't understand how fucking much time this is and how stupid it is to spend their time doing this shit, right? So if you understand the math and this is what it takes to find a good candidate, here's where people fuck off. All right, so if you're hiring a closer or sales rep or whatever you want to call this person, and you got 55 hours worth of allotted time, right? Well, first of all, if your offer is not converting at 25%, don't fucking bother hiring a salesperson. You probably got a messaging or an offer issue, not a salesperson issue. So it's somewhere around marketing or messaging. Now, Mike is popping. Does that mean I'm yelling, or does that mean that, what's that mean? Anyway, all right. So 55 hours is what we're looking at. You're looking at, if you're in the place to hire a sales rep, you should have a 20 to 25% conversion rate, right? So if you take an average sales call is about an hour. Let's say you have about an 80% show up rate. You're looking at somewhere around 40 sales calls, right? Because of 55 sales calls, only 80% show up. So you have that number of conversations. You convert 20%, and you're looking at 8 deals, right? So for the 8 deals, let's say you're at a 3 to 5K price point. You're looking at 24 to, what is that, 24 to 40 grand is going to be the opportunity cost of you taking the time off of the fucking phones and going and doing this, right? So that's for just finding one sales rep, because you trial 4, but when you trial 4, you really only end up with 1. So to get down to the point where you're getting a sales rep, it's actually costing most business owners 24 to 40 grand, because they should be allocating their time and energy into taking the calls. That's why it's completely idiotic to not pay 3 grand to get your sales reps recruited and trained for you, and you go make another 24 or 40 grand depending on the price point of your offer. And your offer is priced even higher than that, then you're losing even more. But I'm just going conservative with the 3 to 5K because that's where a lot of guys are. Now, all right, that's the cost of recruiting. Is this 24 to 40 grand? And I guess my question for you guys is, does that seem like a stretch, or does that sound like reasonable and actually a fucking pair? So let me know below. I would be curious to hear if that seems like a stretch to you or if that makes sense. But now the next thing that people don't understand is the cost of a bad hire. All right, so let's say your sales rep that sucks, and most people when they come to us and they say, hey, I hired a shitty sales rep, they're talking about usually about a 5% close rate, right? So if you give someone 20 calls, they're closing 5%. Let's say your average call costs you $100. So you got a $100 cost per call, and you gave them 20 calls. That means you spent 2 grand in ads to test this person. And this is why when people say like, oh, commission only, so it's no risk to you, it's not fucking true. There's an opportunity cost, and it costs money to put the phones on the calendar, right? So if you're looking at this and they're closing 5%, that means they got 1 deal and they hit that 3 to 5K. Which you might say, oh my God, that's awesome, right? I spent 2 grand and I made 3 grand. But first of all, you got to understand your cost to serve as a customer. If your cost to serve as a customer is too high, you definitely lost money there. Then the second thing is, well, what's the missed opportunity cost? So if they're closing 5%, KPI is 20%, you're looking at a missed opportunity of 3 deals. So right here, you got another 9 to 15 grand in missed opportunity, right? And that's just because you had an idiot on the phone who didn't know what the fuck they're doing, and then we give them calls. Now, 20 calls is conservative. Most people will end up giving their rep closer to 50 calls before they pull the plug. But let's say you gave them 20 calls. Now we're looking at here a cost of about 9 to 15 grand in missed opportunity. That's your cost of a bad hire, okay? And meanwhile, you gotta understand, you spent all the time training this asswad too, and then they don't know how to close the front door. But the thing that most people don't see, right? So even just with these 2 costs, we're looking at somewhere around about 33 to about 55 grand in opportunity costs when you make a bad hire. Let me know if this makes sense. Give me a comment below, a like, something, just so I know that you guys are with me and you're tracking. Now, moving on, there's the cost of delay. Cost of delay is something that most people don't understand, and it comes from project management. Effectively, what the cost of delay is that the time it takes you to ship something or get something done, all the period between the time it took you to get that thing done and when it should have been done and when it actually gets done, that's your cost of delay. And then what's that value that it would drive to the business and the time that it's in that space, right? So in this situation, we're looking at, let's say an average, like your KPI, a good rep's hitting the numbers you should have. Normally what we're going to see is the numbers are going to come out to about 100 calls per month, right? Normally a good rep's going to take 25 calls per week, 5 calls per day. So that's 4 weeks in a month, that's 100 calls. None of this math's crazy, but you're talking about 100 calls per week. Let's say you got a 80% no-show rate. So that's actually 100 calls conducted, right? So they had 100 calls booked, but then of that, 80 calls are conducted. you have a good rep who actually has a 20% conversion rate, which is where they should be at. You're looking at 16 deals. Again, if we're talking about a 3 to 5K price point, depending on where you're at, you're talking about, what is that, 48 to 80 grand. So this is the revenue they should be generating for the month, right? Now, normally, the average business owner that comes to us, we're going to see, like, and the thing is, most of you guys don't understand all these numbers because you don't see all the data we see. People, when they come to us, they've invested 2 months to 3 months with a bad fit. Normally, it's not until about 60 days that we realize we should cut ties. And it's another 30 days before we actually do it because we just, like, we think they might turn a corner at some point, but they don't. So here you are. That's just 1 month's opportunity cost or cost of delay. And normally people are going to run that for 3 months. And then the even crazier part is the majority of business owners will run this cycle 2 to 3 times. So it's very rare that we see, if someone makes a bad hire, they go try to do it again. They're going to make another bad hire. They're going to try to do it again, and they're going to make another bad hire. And it either, if they don't give up and say, hey, oh, and nobody can sell my offer, they're going to try this multiple times and end up 9 months down the road before they actually get a sales rep. So when we look at this, the cost of delay is 48 to 80 grand per month, right? And average is going to be 3 months. So you're really looking at somewhere around, what is that? 144 grand to 240 grand in cost of delay. Now, I know this, you guys might say, oh no, but Mike, that's opportunity cost. That's not real. But let me give you an example, right? So Tyler Narducci came to us. When Tyler Narducci came to us, he hired some asswad from the Dan Locke program who said that she knew what she was doing. He says it's one of the worst service provider experiences he ever had in his entire life. The person was a complete shit show mess. And they went from December until March, not making any sales. They made 1 sale the entire time from December to March, right? We come on board, and then inside of 60 days, the dude's hitting 70 grand a month. So there is 3 months that person fucked off in the business, and it, as a result, cost him $210,000 in missed opportunities. Not to mention what happens when you can then continue to reinvest and scale, which is the last part, right? So you have the opportunity cost here. And what's the opportunity cost? Well, as a business owner, once you get to the point that your offer is hitting, you're doing, let's say you're 20% consistent, you have scalable lead gen in place, you need to be focused on the $1 million activities, right? And the $1 million activities would be things like you're gonna scale your budgets, right? So you're gonna look at how do you take your offer and get it scaled out on whatever platform. You're gonna roll out acquisition channels. So maybe you're dominating on Facebook and you roll out YouTube. You can make an additional $1 million a year just by unleashing a new acquisition channel, right? So you're going to roll out acquisition channels. You're going to develop new front-end offers. So when we worked with TF, for example, once they got off the phones, they were able to start to build out the memos and the low ticket front ends and start to get it really popping with their ads because they had the time to develop new offers. And you might work on a back-end offer, which again, back-end offers are easily a way to double the lifetime value of your customer. So if you don't have a back-end offer, you could do that. You could develop the speak from stage channel, right? So you start going and selling, speaking from stage. And this is just a list of a few things that would generate the business $1 million per year. Another example, a client we worked with, they went out and started doing JVs, and they found a JV partner that was worth over $1 million a year to the business. So once you get off the phone, you can spend your time developing JV partners. So any of these activities are the type of activities that generate you $1 million a year. But when you're stuck on sales calls, you can't do shit. So this is your even bigger opportunity. But again, let's say forget the $1 million a year activities and what the cost of delay is on those. Even if you just calculate the 3 main costs, we're looking at somewhere around, you got about 144 grand plus 48 grand plus 24 grand. What's that give us? And plus the 9. So we're looking at 144, 192, 201, 225 grand in opportunity cost. And the example I gave you with Tyler is exactly fucking that. Like, same thing with Alaric. As soon as he got off the phones, the business went doubled inside of the next 60 days. And then he just kept snowballing that back into ads. And when you have a high return on ad spend and you snowball that back in, the compound growth that you miss out on is crazy in the short term. So this is a quick understanding as to why paying someone money to do the recruiting for you while you take calls, close down the deals, even if you're talking only about your $24,000 cost of recruiting, because you take these calls instead, you're still at nearly a 9-10 times return on investment, 8-time return on investment. That's insane, dude. So think about this shit next time before you go and start recruiting reps on your own, because the mistakes people are going to make is they're going to only talk to about 5-10 reps from the Facebook groups, and then they don't end up with a good rep. They put one on trial. They don't even fucking manage their reps or try or listen to their calls or do any sort of coaching, or they overcoach their reps because they're too scared and they can't hand off the phone calls without freaking out. And when you cut down all of these, and the biggest mistake is not understanding the cost, right? And so when you cut down all of these, it starts to show a new way that, holy crap, first of all, if I hold it down on the phones and then have someone else do it, then that works. But main thing is, even you got the routes you can go. You could do it on your own, or you could pay us to do it. It doesn't matter. Or you could pay somebody to do it. I don't fucking care. But at least you know 200 candidates, 80 phone screens, 25 interviews, 4 on trial, and you'll land 1. That's the math. If you hit that, your math's going to work out. So let me know if you guys have any quick questions. I got about a couple minutes. Happy to stay for any questions if you got any in the comments. I'll give you guys about another 30 seconds or so to start dropping some of them. And if nothing comes out, then I'm going to jump off. But I hope this was insightful. Hope you guys got something out of it. Hope it kind of was an eye-opener for you. So you're like, holy crap, I didn't realize that. And I appreciate everyone who's actually here, who's engaged, who's tuned in. So thank you guys. Any questions? I'm going to hang out. Let's see. Yeah, dude. Appreciate you, Dave. It is kind of crazy to think about. We definitely normally won't make these calculations. And that's why, man, even with our clients, like in successful CEOs and stuff, I'm so big on modeling out your decisions, because when you model out your decisions, you can really start to see and make the decision based on the data as opposed to the emotion. What do you need in place to ensure a sales rep success? So it's pretty easy. I mean, 10 qualified appointments per week. You need about 20% conversion rate on those appointments. You should be doing about 20 grand to 30 grand from cold traffic, or at least from a predictable lead source. So then that way you have an actually scalable offer and everything's set up. Yeah, 10 appointments. So I don't know, apps, sometimes in our world it's applications, but we say 10 qualified appointments per week, not per day. If I said day, sorry, it's 10 qualified appointments per week. So usually you want about 40 per month minimum. Otherwise, you're not going to keep a sales rep. It's not worth their time or attention. So what else? What other question? That's a good one, Scott. Let's see. Cool. I think that's about it. Any other questions? Anything else, you guys? Happy to answer. So while you got me, take advantage of me. Let's see. Yeah, man, and if you're a little early for that, there's a couple options we recommend. Usually one is going to be getting an appointment generator. So someone on your team whose job is to actually book appointments for you. And then as well, if you have the ability to do, I would use an appointment setter. Sorry, I mean a specialist. So someone whose job is to qualify appointments. Those are usually two good levers that you can do before you bring on a closer. What onboarding material is recommended for sales reps? To be honest, like that's not the right question, if that makes sense. It seems like the right question, but it's the wrong question. And the reason I say that is it's more about the emotional journey that you put the person on as opposed to the materials that you give them. The materials that you give them are significantly less important than the emotional journey that you put them on. And so in the onboarding phase, there's a syntax of what they have to learn. And it's a matter of walking them through the right syntax on the emotional journey. And then as well, like how the comms channels support that so that they feel like it's a real operation and that you're really on your shit, right? Because a big part of that beginning phase is we need to create trust, safety, and then rapidly get their belief accelerated in the offer. And that's not done through materials, right? Materials are a head thing. And in order to create conviction and belief, that's an emotional thing. So it's kind of the same thing as like, it's the same thing as asking, what do I say to somebody when they say this? And they're not like, it's not a if this and that. To understand the messaging and offer, we usually are going to do something where we have like a panel interview style, and we just walk through everything that they need to know about the offer, the market, the competitive landscape. That's primarily it, like secret pains, secret desires, unique objections the market's going to have. And we have an interview format where that's done, and then they have an open Q&A. Minimum offer level for a salesperson, 10K and higher to sure. I don't know what that means. Do you mean, Dave, what's the price of your offer, or what's the amount of on-target earnings that the sales rep expects? That's so. Couple clarifying questions. If you give me the answer to those, I could give you a more specific and on-point answer. So those are a couple questions. I need to know which one it is. Price of the offer, 10K. No, it doesn't need to be minimum of 10K. We have sales reps on 3K offers. We have sales reps on $1,000, $1,500 a month offers. So yeah, no, it doesn't need to be that high in order for the commission to be worth their time. Shoot, we've even put people on like a couple $100 or $500 offers when the volume makes up for it. The main thing for it to be worth their time is really about on-target earnings. So it means how much can the rep expect to earn given a full-time input. So if they work full-time, what's the earnings that they can make? And usually you want to be at anywhere between $80,000 to $120,000 is kind of the minimum range where we want to see it at. Sometimes it could go higher, like you could have $200,000, $250,000 on target earnings, but really as long as you're at 80 to 120, you'll be able to attract competitive talent. So yeah, but good question. And they want to make about 10 grand a month. They want to make 8 to 10 grand a month minimum for them to consider it, but it doesn't need to be that your offer is 10K. What else you guys got for me? Cool, good, Dave. All right, looks like there's going once, going twice, going 3 times. Sweet, guys. All right, so that's it. We'll wrap up. If you got any extra questions, drop them in the comments below. Let me know what you got out of this. If there were any major aha moments, share them with anybody else below. And I appreciate you guys again. Hopefully I will see you around, and hopefully you guys are scaling your sales teams, hiring sales reps, and getting off the phones as fast as possible, because it's one hell of a ride, and it's awesome when you get that first high ticket sale while you're doing something else. It's pretty awesome. For premium, we got one last question. For premium price offers, say 30K and up, would flat rate commission be appropriate? We normally do flat rate commission for the most part anyway. It depends, again, how many units are they selling? What's on target earnings? Is that the only offer they're selling? Comp design's pretty specialized, and that's normally something we would do in a conversation, because there's a lot of variables. Are they only selling one of those a month? Are they selling 3 of those a month? Are they selling 10 of those a month? Like, all those things are going to vary. But yes, flat rate is appropriate. It also depends on the cash collection. Are they collecting all 30 up front? Is the 30 spread out over months? So we need to understand what the business can do. Also, what's the cost to service a customer? So how do we make it work for everybody, whether it's cash flow positive, ideally on the first month for the business, you're able to pay the sales rep accelerated as quickly as possible, and everybody's incentives are aligned, right? So that's, at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing about comp design, is aligning incentives. So the incentives design leads to the most favorable outcome for everybody that's involved in the interaction. Cool. Okay. Good, you guys. Thanks for joining. I hope you guys have a great week. Keep crushing it and rock it through the rest of the week.